insight and a mature outlook, with a realization that this is the only way, the right way, to live a fulfilling life.
Service in the village. And now this has been practiced in a very massive way in the Sri Sathya Sai University from the year 2000. We have been doing this for 7 years in a row. What is the purpose of Grama Seva? The question arises because many people say, okay, a few days in the year you go out to the villages in large numbers, no doubt, and you distribute food, clothes, etc., etc. That is not going to solve the problem of the villages. What's the big deal? It's a fair question. But I'll tell you what the big deal is, because I have been involved in this in many ways, and I have been watching this very closely. In fact, in some of my field trips, I have recorded interviews with students, teachers, administrators, and so on. The big deal is simply this. As far as our students are concerned, I won't talk about the villages, there is another dimension. As far as the students are concerned, it's a question of sensitizing them. Many of these people come from urban background. They have absolutely no idea what conditions in villages are. And when they go to a village and see for the first time a place where there is no shop, no electricity, no telephone, no doctor, not even an ayah to assist with delivery of babies, no roads, hardly any school, then they realize that there is a world out there which goes back almost to the Stone Age, and that's just 30 kilometers from here. And you realize how far it is because it takes 2 to 3 hours to cover 30 kilometers. Sensitivity. And this has worked on many students because many of them have said later on, I will stay back in this country. I owe something to these people because these are the people who work as farmers and feed me. If they don't work in the farm, how am I going to eat? Where is the food on the table going to come from? Sensitization. That is a very, very important point. Second point, when you get this experience year after year during the 5 years or 6 years or 7 years that you spend in the college and the university, and when you go out, that experience remains and it influences the thinking of people in many ways. Let us say you end up as an administrator in the government. Then you realize that you have to do your bit for the people in rural India, because even now with all the urbanization, 70% of India lives in the villages. Or if you go to a big corporation, many of our students are working for a bank, leading bank, private sector bank, SDFC. On weekends they don't go partying, they go to a village, they do service. So the other people began to say, hey, where do you disappear? These people gave evasive replies, but then they found that they were going for service to villages. They joined, and now the bank is adopting village service as a corporate activity, as a practice of corporate social responsibility or whatever you want to call it. So it's all a question of creating a change of mindset. That is really what Grama Seva is intended to do as far as the students are concerned. And I would say, looking at it cumulatively over so many years, it has been quite successful, very successful. And I have found this out by talking to people who have gone out from here, who are now well placed not only in India but even overseas. They still cherish those memories. In fact, you would be surprised to hear that every year a fairly big group comes all the way from UK to do seva here, so that they know there's a different world out there. So there is a meaning, and basically it's a question of sensitization.
Meticulous planning goes into the making of the annual Sports Day, unheard of in any other university in the country. Apart from providing an opportunity to conquer phobias, this event puts the students to the ultimate test of fortitude, kinship, skills, talents, self-confidence, and leadership. On a platform of academic excellence, with the unflagging love and support of Bhagavan Baba, the students excel in both academic and non-academic facets of education.
Swami's basic contribution to education is character. Swami always says the end of education is character. And the character of Swami's boys shine forth, I think, very differently and significantly from an average student from any other institution. And this character is seen in many ways. The first demonstration of character is in words that one can see, because thoughts one cannot see. They are sweet words with a sweet smile and a very cheerful face. The second way evidence of Swami's students' character is their actions. They always act in a proper manner, in an ethical manner, in a dharmic manner. And at the workplace, when you see these students, you can see that they carry themselves differently from people from other institutions. When they face a conflict, because of their prayer, God shows them way and shows them the right path and the ability to differentiate good from bad and take the right actions. Swami's students, when they are faced with conflict, act very differently from others. One, they do not lose their temper. They don't ask, why should it happen to me? They say, this is the problem, we have to find a solution. They do it based on mutual respect and love, and therefore are ultimately able to work out a solution which is fair to all and satisfactory to all. See, Swami teaches, and his foremost teaching is love all, serve all. Swami says there's only one religion, religion of love. And that love has to be expressed not to an abstract God, but in reality to the humanity that he has created, to all creatures that he has created in the form of ahimsa. And you can see this in Swami's boys. I think in many ways one can see it, but I think the way they serve other people with love is something quite amazing. And I think it even transforms the person who's seeing such young students act with such love. I think even puts elders to shame and makes them also act with love. The one thing that really touches you every time you interact with Swami's students is the goodness. I think Swami's imbued them with such great amount of goodness. And it is always very touching and moving to see that in them. And it also, to a degree, I guess you envy them, because they have had this opportunity that is denied to most people to grow and be nurtured in Swami's environment.
Upon graduation, armed with a sterling character, the educared students of the Sri Sathya Sai University enter the world of action, a world wrought with competition, compulsion, and commercialization. This is when values and virtues imbibed during their education serve as reliable props, making them stand out from the rest. The highly coveted graduates hold top positions in highly reputed organizations both in India and abroad. Quality education prepares students of the Sri Sathya Sai University to understand deeply the importance of civic engagement and what it means to be a global citizen.
Swami always says that education is for life and not just for living. And the kind of exposure, the broad as well as deep exposure that the students get in Swami's college, right from not just managing their academics, but the sports activities, managing the hostel, managing the VIPs, coordinating almost every single event, I think that itself, being in the hostel and being in Swami's college itself, is probably the greatest management education the students get. And as a result of that, the greatest quality that corporates like us benefit from Swami students is their versatility. They are almost expert in everything. And that leads, their versatility in the hostel life, in being in Swami's presence, gets translated into work life. So it is very easy to get them involved in any kind of activity. They are not fussy about their ambitions and certain, straight-jacketed career goals. The result of this versatility is also that they view every work in the workplace as a service. And that's really a true reflection of what Swami grooms them to be while they are in the college. But everything they do is a service. And they do it with such a good service orientation and mentality that it becomes kind of a force multiplier within the organization. And that has a big impact on customer service orientation, on teamwork, on interpersonal skills, because these boys and these girls really embody Swami's teaching in the workplace.
The kind of vibes that one sees, the kind of positive energy that one sees in candidates who have passed out from the Sai Institute is strikingly different. I mean, there is an immediate ability to connect. The ability to connect that one sees is the ability to connect with oneself, with one's own strengths that you see in the candidates, as well as the ability to connect with the larger cause and goals of the organization, the ability to connect with the team that the individual is going to be working in. What I see as a real, difficult to really say whether these are attributes which are not available elsewhere. I think everything about an individual is about the nature and nurture. And nurture has a very important role to play in the way in which a person is what he is in a larger life context, and work life being a part of that large life. So when one sees, when I meet candidates from who have had an association with the Sai Institute, what one really sees as striking and different is the intensity and the consistency in their attitude, in their value system, the kind of focus and confidence that they exhibit, confidence in oneself, which is very self-driven rather than really externally stimulated or looking for a motivation which is outside of them. A couple of real striking features that I could talk of is the ability to collaborate, the ability to build relationships, the sense of responsibility and ownership, the sense of responsibility in terms of ability to connect to the purpose of what one is doing and what one takes up as a role, as well as the natural inclination of liking what one does with absolute ease. Just as the duckling takes to water, you see the students or the ones who have had association with the Sai Institute take on a company's way of doing things, the processes, the ability to adapt and adopt to the organization processes comes in with a lot of ease, which is clearly a striking feature.
They bring together a unique blend of equanimity yet dedication to the work, which is kind of very rare because people who are normally very dedicated and passionate tend to kind of spark off a very different types of team dynamics, whereas Swami students actually balance it with a great degree of equanimity and love. And that has a pretty good effect on the way an entire team functions. It's not just their individual contribution where they stand out as an outstanding example of managers or executives, but they have a very, very positive influence on the team. And this gets to be seen day in and day out in the workplace. Practicing those values is actually a very easy thing to do. It is actually difficult not to do it. And when we see these boys demonstrating these qualities, we cannot help but wonder as to why it is so difficult for us, but why is it so easy for them. I think these boys have set an example that it is very easy, and following that for others is something that we are trying to do in the organization. The boys are doing more than just bringing in the spiritual values or the the external teachings of Swami into the workplace. What they're doing is living the example in the way they work, and the impact of this on all of us is not immediate or visible. It's kind of very, very subtle. We're beginning to see that human values matter more than professional values or the professional instincts that corporate life forces us to be. And one of my personal as well as official goals is to enmesh human values into our work life and bring together a more balanced perspective to both work as well as life. I think there are two guiding principles that we believe in, and this has resulted from a lot of learnings that I personally have had from the Institute, from Swami's teachings, as well as the influence of the students here. One is, yes, it's important to be competitive, but it's important to be competitive from the perspective of being excellent in whatever we do, not to beat somebody else and not to, put down somebody else. So competition is great, we encourage it, we strive for competition, we play to win and we win to play. It is very clear. But there is the first principle is that we do not want to win at any cost. That's very clear. We want to win, but not at any cost. We will not compromise on certain things. We will not bribe. We will not, we will not go against the law. We do business in 200 countries, and we respect the local laws and customs and cultures of each of those countries very, very rigidly. The second one is that we believe in absolutes, not in relatives. We don't want to say that we didn't cheat as much as the other guy did. Yeah? There are absolutes in everything in life. There are absolutes about truth, about honesty, about the way we conduct ourselves, and we follow those absolutes. Within those absolutes, we will do everything best to win. We will do everything best to excel. But to excel and to compete and to do our best is not to put down others. So we started a program on corporate social responsibility. We are a knowledge company, and we have a lot of emphasis on knowledge management, and how to commercialize our knowledge and skills. So we have a program called I Know, which drives our performance culture in the organization. So we decided that it's not enough to just have knowledge, but we have to act to transform people. So we called this initiative I Do. This has been Swami students have been catalysts. You'll meet some of them and they'll speak about what are the activities that we've planned under I Do. I Do has now become our corporate social responsibility platform. We're going to launch it this month with some activities that help some of our staff, the contract staff, employees for their education and for their Medicare. We really want to bring together Swami's teachings on Educare and Medicare into this program and see what difference we can make in the community around us. The method of teaching, the method of integrating students' life outside the curriculum into the curriculum, and developing an all-rounded personality is something that is unique and rare in the world that only Sathya Sai University can contribute. The second one is the whole emphasis on human values. I think every corporate, every business in the world is realizing that without human values, you cannot really progress to the next level of business excellence or corporate excellence. And the fundamental raw material for that is management graduates, or graduates who come into work life with a very strong orientation on human values and ability to integrate those human values with business situation and professional work. So I think these are two areas, grooming of students outside of the curriculum, the kind of activities, the kind of environment, physical, spiritual, mental, and academic that's kind of integrated so synergistically, and human values integration into the curriculum. These are two things that are very unique about Swami's Institute's curriculum, and that's something that is, if I can use the word, exportable globally.
Everyone is talking about core values, something which Swami has been telling us day in and day out. Integrity, respect for individual is something that we learn day in and day out in Swami's discourses. And it seems as if that all the corporates across the world has suddenly realized the importance of that, and everybody's saying that in the era of high attrition, a global workforce, how do we make sure that these core values are available to every single employee of the company?
Sri Sathya Sai University has become a role model that is transforming administrators, educators, and the youth around the world.
We've established a number of schools throughout the world. That is, I think we have now 43 schools in 26 countries, and we have 24 institutes of Sathya Sai Education and Human Values in 24 countries. It's small, but it's growing very fast. Anything that is right and good always will grow very fast, and this is right and good, I can assure you. We've had an international youth conference here attended by approximately 6,000 young adults ages 18 to 35 from more than 80 countries. Bhagavan Baba has said that the young adults, the youth, will be the leaders of tomorrow. And we expect them to come here and to be the active participants of today so that they will be prepared to lead this organization into the future, so that this organization can be a light and instrument of Bhagavan Baba's love in the world. These young adults are all dedicated devotees who in their own respective societies are rendering selfless service, are are engaged in regular devotional activities, and in fact are a very staunch aspect of the Sathya Sai organizations in all of these societies. Youth from all different societies, from all walks of life, from all different countries are drawn like a divine, like as if there were a divine magnet to the teachings, to the love of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. They are seeing the shallowness and the materialistic approaches in their respective societies. They're seeing the results of these approaches, that is, looking outward for everything, for immediate gratification. They're finding that the immediate gratification is short-lived, and the periods of sadness, tragedy, problems in their lives are long-lived. More and more, they're beginning to realize that there's something much more to this than the acquisition of wealth and pleasure in the world. And they, in fact, are turning inward themselves.
Within the first 6 years of its operation, the Sathya Sai School in a suburb of Toronto, in the province of Ontario, Canada, attracted much attention from mainstream educators and the media. And for a school that has the unique distinction of being the only one of its kind in the United States and Canada, its recent rating among the top schools in Ontario comes as no surprise to those who are familiar with its vision. A unique learning model that aims to balance character education with academic excellence, the Sathya Sai School of Canada made national headlines in February 2007. Staffed by teachers with exemplary character and training in Sathya Sai Education in Human Values program, this school was rated first among 37 top elementary schools by the Fraser Institute, an independent Canadian research and educational organization with international partners in over 70 countries. The school program is designed not to dictate or impose universal human values. Instead, it offers a